gets insulted by all of these girls. We have felt this a little bit ourselves.
We all know Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and that little world of sad smiles and funny moments. It feels soft and safe, like old newspaper comics and warm Saturday mornings. But the truth behind Peanuts is much deeper. Charles Schulz used real pain, real memories, even a last wish from his dying mother to create it.
What seems to be your trouble? I feel depressed.
Sparky was a very lonely person. He really envied people who had families.
Some secrets are sweet, some are shocking, some may even change how you see Snoopy forever. Stay with me, because these 25 hidden stories will surprise you again and again, right until the final one.
You get more wrapped up in it because you have to wait for tomorrow to see what's going to happen.
Fact 1. Schulz hated the name Peanuts his entire life.
Just draw something that you hope is funny. Cartooning is still drawing funny pictures, whether they're just silly little things.
He wanted to call it Good Old Charlie Brown. They said no. Schulz originally wanted to call it Leal Folks, the name of his previous local strip. Later he suggested Good Old Charlie Brown. The company picked Peanuts because of a kids' TV show. Schulz hated it. He said it was ridiculous and had no dignity. On day 1, his friend went to buy a newspaper with peanuts in it. The store owner joked, "Nope, we don't have any with popcorn either." For 50 years, whenever someone asked what he did, he'd say, "I draw that comic strip with Snoopy and Charlie Brown." He refused to even say Peanuts. But even without control over the name, Schulz was determined to maintain absolute control over his art. Fact 2, Schulz drew every single strip by himself for 50 years.
And sometimes my hand will literally shake with excitement as I'm drawing it because I'm having a good time.
No assistants, no help, just him and a pen. Most famous cartoonists hire teams to help, not Schulz. He drew all 17,897 strips completely alone. Every line, every letter, every color. When people asked why he wouldn't get help, he said, "Does a golfer hire someone to swing his club?" Schulz used an old-fashioned pen dipped in ink. It was slow, hard work. But he believed if someone else touched his drawings, they wouldn't be his anymore. 7 strips every single week. Just him at his desk. No shortcuts. This stubbornness wasn't just artistic pride, it was the core of the man who poured his painful life into his protagonist. Fact 3, Charlie Brown is Charles Schulz.
My entire being seems to be just right for being a cartoonist.
Every failure, every sad moment that was Schulz's real life. Charlie Brown wasn't made up. He was Schulz. The loneliness? Real. The constant losing? Real. Getting rejected? Real. In high school, Schulz drew pictures for the yearbook. The other kids said no. That rejection hurt him forever. He felt like nobody understood him, so he put all those feelings into Charlie Brown. Schulz once said, "Everything I am goes into the strip. My fears, my worries, everything." When you read Charlie Brown failing at stuff, you're reading Schulz's actual life. But while Charlie Brown came from his sadness, another major character was born from a moment of tender memory. Fact 4, Snoopy was named by Schulz's dying mother.
He was stationed at Fort Snelling. When he first heard the word cancer, she was days away from her death.
She said it right before she passed away from cancer. Schulz's mom got really sick when he was 20. She was dying from cancer. Right before she passed away, in 1943, she told him something. "If we ever get another dog, let's name it Snoopy." Schulz never forgot those words. Years later, when he needed a name for the cartoon dog, he was going to call him Sniffy, but another comic already used that name. Then he remembered his mom's last wish. He named the dog Snoopy. The real dog was their family pet, Spike. That emotional origin for Snoopy is touching, but the dog's first moment of fame was surprisingly bizarre. Fact 5, Schulz's first published drawing was about a dog that ate razor blades.
I still think that my function is just to draw a little picture, whether it's on a scrap of paper.
At 14, he got famous for drawing his weird dog. Schulz's family dog, Spike, ate crazy stuff. Pins, tacks, actual razor blades. On New Year's Eve 1936, 14-year-old Schulz drew a picture of Spike doing this. His dad helped him send it to a famous newspaper feature called Ripley's Believe It or Not. They published it. The caption said, "A hunting dog that eats pins." tacks, and razor blades, drawn by Sparky. This was Schulz's first moment of, hey, I can do this. It made him want to be a cartoonist even more. That taste of success was brief. Schulz's next attempt at professional art was met with brutal rejection. Fact 6. Disney rejected Schulz and called him unqualified.
You're not going to be able to think of anything. You have to kind of bend over the drawing board, shut the world out.
They basically said, you're not good enough. After high school, Schulz applied to work at Disney. He wanted to be an animator so badly. Disney looked at his work and said no. They told him he wasn't qualified. He also sent drawings to magazines. They all rejected him too. Every single one. These rejections crushed him. But they also shaped him. All those no responses made him feel like he'd never get what he deserved. Sound familiar? That's exactly how Charlie Brown feels in every strip like the world keeps saying no. This rejection defined his career. But an even deeper, personal rejection would define his love life forever. Fact 7. The little red-haired girl rejected Schulz's marriage proposal.
I suppose in those days we called it necked. He wanted to get married and he wanted to have a strip.
He loved her for 3 years. She said no. Schulz worked at an art school. There was a woman there named Donna with red hair. He fell completely in love with her. They dated for 3 whole years. Schulz thought she was the one. He asked her to marry him. She said no. His heart was destroyed. But he didn't waste that pain. He turned it into the little red-haired girl, Charlie Brown's crush, who never notices him. Just like in real life, Charlie Brown never gets the girl. Schulz lived with that heartbreak forever. He turned heartbreak into a silent character. But Schulz also looked closer to home for the names of his actual friends. Fact 8. He named characters after his real co-workers.
And I had a wonderful friend named Charlie Brown. He and I worked at the correspondence school in Minneapolis for many years.
Charlie Brown was an actual guy Schulz worked with. This is wild. Charlie Brown, real person. He worked at the same art school as Schulz. Linus, real person, another co-worker named Linus Maurer. Frida? Yep, Frida Rich worked there too. Schulz just took names from people around him and slapped them onto his characters. It wasn't a tribute or anything fancy. He just wanted his comic to feel real. So he borrowed from real life. It's kind of weird knowing there was an actual human walking around named Charlie Brown. The quiet halls of the art school were his source of character names, but his most formative lessons came from a violent, lonely chapter of his life. Fact 9. Schulz fought in World War II with a machine gun. He said the army taught him everything about being lonely. When Schulz was 20, he got drafted into the army. This was right after his mom died. He became a sergeant and led a machine gun team. His unit helped free a concentration camp. They saw combat at the end of the war. Once, Schulz had a chance to shoot at an enemy soldier, but he forgot to load his gun. Luckily, the guy surrendered anyway. The war made Schulz understand loneliness like never before. But even during the war, he kept doing one thing. Fact 10, he drew every single day during the war. Even in war zones, he never put down his sketchbook. Schulz carried his sketchbook everywhere in the army. During breaks from combat, he drew. He drew soldiers eating, soldiers sleeping, soldiers waiting around. Normal army stuff. Nothing fancy, just constant practice. Later, Schulz said the war was his proudest accomplishment in life. Even prouder than creating Peanuts. Wild, right? But that discipline he learned, showing up and working no matter what, that's what let him draw Peanuts every single day for 50 years. The war taught him how to never quit. But when he got home, more rejection was waiting. Fact 11, Peanuts. Started in only 7 newspapers.
Debuted in 1950 in only 7 papers. It now appears in 2,600 newspapers around the world with 300 million readers.
That's it. Just 7. Now it's in 2,600 newspapers worldwide. October 2nd, 1950. That's when Peanuts first appeared. Only 7 newspapers wanted it. Most comics launch in way more papers than that. It was a pretty weak start, but slowly people started noticing. Kids liked it. Adults liked it. It was different, honest, and kind of sad. Within 10 years, it exploded. By the end, Peanuts was in over 2,600 newspapers in 75 countries, translated into 21 languages, reaching 355 million readers. From 7 newspapers to the most successful comic strip ever made. But all that success created weird problems. Fact 12, Schulz made $40 million a year.
The most successful comic strip in history has inspired 4 feature films, a long-running Broadway musical, and some 40 television specials.
He was richer than most movie stars and athletes. At its peak, Peanuts made over $1 billion every year. Schulz personally earned $30 to $40 million annually. Forbes put him on their list of highest paid entertainers right next to Michael Jordan and Bill Cosby. But here's the thing, Schulz didn't care about the money. He gave millions to charity. He drove himself to work, used the same old pens and desk. He just wanted to draw comics. The money was nice, but it wasn't why he did it. And his work schedule was absolutely insane. Fact 13, Schulz took only 1 vacation in 50 years.
Peanuts comic strip would have turned 100 years old on Saturday.
5 weeks off for his 75th birthday. That's it. From 1950 to 1997, Schulz never took a break. Not one single day. He drew 7 strips every week without fail. In 1997, he turned 75. His family finally convinced him to take a vacation. 5 weeks. That was the first and only time reruns appeared while he was alive. After those 5 weeks, right back to work. Every single morning, same routine. New strip, new day. For 50 years straight. Most people can't imagine working that hard for that long. But even Schulz had his limits. Fact 14. His hands started shaking in his final years.
And sometimes my hand will literally shake with excitement as I'm drawing it because I'm having a good time.
The lines got wobbly, but he refused to quit. In his later years, Schulz's hands developed a tremor. They shook constantly. He said, "Sometimes my hands shake so much, I have to hold my wrist to draw." Look at strips from the 1990s. The lines look shaky and rough compared to earlier work. Most cartoonists would hire help at that point. Not Schulz. He kept drawing, every strip, every letter, shaky hands and all. He refused to let anyone else touch his work, even when it became physically painful. Then came the diagnosis that ended everything. Fact 15. Schulz got cancer and retired the same month.
From a terrible, lingering death.
December 1999. Cancer diagnosis. Immediate retirement. Schulz had surgery on his stomach. The doctors found colon cancer. On December 14th, 1999, he announced retirement. His letter said, "I can't keep up the schedule anymore. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Linus, Lucy, how can I ever forget them?" The last daily strip came out January 3rd, 2000. But a few Sunday strips were still scheduled to run. Nobody knew what was about to happen next. What happened next broke everyone's heart. Fact 16. Schulz died the night before his final strip.
Peanuts creator Charles Schulz has died as his final comic strip was being delivered to homes across America.
February 12th, 2000. He died in his sleep just hours before newspapers published his goodbye. Saturday night, February 12th, 2000. Schulz went to sleep. He never woke up. Heart attack. He was 77 years old. The next morning, Sunday the 13th, newspapers everywhere published his final Peanuts strip with his farewell message. He died literally hours before the world said goodbye to Peanuts. It was like he and his creation couldn't exist without each other. The timing was almost too perfect, too sad, too poetic. And his very last thoughts were about Charlie Brown. Fact 17, Schulz's last words were about the football.
People say, well, why don't you have Charlie Brown kick the football? Why don't you do this or do that?
That poor kid, he never got to kick it. What a dirty trick. After signing his last strip, Schulz thought about Charlie Brown, specifically the football gag. You know the one Lucy always pulls it away. Charlie Brown never kicks it, not once. Schulz said that poor kid, he never even got to kick the football. What a dirty trick. Even at the end, Schulz saw Charlie Brown as real. He felt actual sadness for him. Like the character's failure was his own failure. Because, honestly, it was. But before he died, Schulz made one final demand. Fact 18, nobody else can ever draw Peanuts. Schulz said no, his family said no, and they meant it. Before Schulz died, he made a rule. No one else is allowed to draw new Peanut strips. Ever. His farewell message said, "My family does not wish Peanuts to be continued by anyone else." The company that owned Peanuts could have hired someone anyway. They owned the rights. but they respected his wishes. Since February 13th, 2000, not a single new Peanuts comic has been created, only reruns. Schulz's work stands alone, exactly how he wanted it. This decision came from a deep belief about art. Fact 19, Schulz compared his art to a golfer's swing. Would a golfer hire someone to swing his club? Then I won't hire someone to draw my comic. Schulz loved using the golf comparison. He'd say, a golfer doesn't pay someone to make his shots, right? So why would I let someone else draw my strip? To him, every single pen stroke was personal. It came from his soul. If someone else drew even one line, it wouldn't be his anymore. It would be fake, a copy. Even the letters had to be his. That's how seriously he took it. But this perfectionism caused unexpected drama. Fact 20, CBS thought a Charlie Brown Christmas would flop.
All right, script girl. Continue with the scripts.
The TV bosses hated everything about it. When Schulz made A Charlie Brown Christmas in 1965, CBS executives freaked out. They hated that he used real kids' voices instead of adult actors. They hated the weird jazz music. They especially hated that there was no laugh track. TV shows always had laugh tracks back then. CBS said it would bomb. Guess what? December 9th, 1965, it aired. 15 million people watched. Critics loved it. It won an Emmy and a Peabody Award. CBS was dead wrong. And the TV success made Peanuts even more massive. Fact 21, NASA named spaceships after Peanuts characters.
NASA's plan to go back to the moon, and Snoopy is to be the zero gravity.
Apollo 10 ships were called Snoopy and Charlie Brown. In 1969, NASA made Snoopy their safety mascot. When Apollo 10 launched the final test before landing on the moon, they named the ships after Peanuts. The lunar module, Snoopy. It would snoop around the moon. The command module, Charlie Brown. Schulz drew a special picture of Charlie Brown in a spacesuit. They hid it on the spacecraft for the astronauts to find in space. That drawing is now at the Kennedy Space Center. Peanuts went to the moon, literally. But not everything in Schulz's life was heroic. Fact 22, Schulz cheated on his wife. He fell for a 25-year-old woman and destroyed his marriage. This part is messy. Schulz was in his late 40s, married to his first wife, Joyce. Then he met Tracy, a 25-year-old photographer. They had an affair. Joyce found out. Schulz promised to stop seeing Tracy. He didn't. He even asked Tracy to marry him while still married to Joyce. Schulz put Tracy in Peanuts as the girl beagle Snoopy loves. He divorced Joyce in 1972. Married someone else in 1973? The whole thing was a scandal that his family still doesn't like talking about. And that affair caused even more drama years later. Fact 23, his ex-girlfriend's family sold his love letters. They auctioned them off for $350,000 in 2012. Remember Tracy from the affair? Schulz wrote her tons of love letters with drawings inside. Private stuff. After he died, in 2012, her family decided to sell those letters at auction for money. They got $350,000. Schulz's daughter Amy was furious. She called it immature and tacky. The whole family was angry. These were private, personal letters that were never meant to be seen, but Tracy's family sold them anyway. It turned Schulz's private pain into public entertainment. But Schulz faced physical danger too. Fact 24, someone tried to kidnap Schulz in 1988. Two armed men broke into his house. In 1988, two guys with guns broke into Schulz's home in California. They tried to kidnap him. Why? Nobody really knows. But just as they were about to grab him, one of his daughters drove up to the house. The kidnappers saw her car pulling in. They panicked and ran away. Schulz was saved by pure luck. The timing was perfect. If his daughter had been 5 minutes later, who knows what would have happened. Being rich and famous made Schulz a target. But even after death, the honors kept coming. Fact, 25 Snoopy got his own Hollywood star. Schulz got one in 1996. Snoopy got his own in 2015. Schulz got his Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 1996, right near Walt Disney's star. But in 2015, Snoopy got his own star. Yep, a fictional dog has a star. Only a few fictional characters have them. Mickey Mouse, Big Bird, Bugs Bunny. Here's something wild. Stars aren't free. Celebrities pay about $50,000 for their own star. And they have to nominate themselves. It's not just handed out. Even legends have to apply. But Snoopy earned it. That little beagle changed the world. Fact 26. The producer lied to get the special made. He told CBS the special already existed. It didn't. Producer Lee Mendelson was desperate. His Peanuts documentary wouldn't sell. Then Coca-Cola called wanting a Christmas special. On Thursday, they asked for the outline. By Monday, Mendelson told them he and Schulz already had the idea ready. Total lie. He called Schulz and said, "I just sold a Charlie Brown Christmas." Schulz asked, "Which show?" Mendelson said, "The one we're making an outline for tomorrow." They literally created the entire concept in one day, but making it was even crazier. Fact 27, they only had 6 months and $76,000. Other Christmas specials got way more money and time. Most animated Christmas shows got bigger budgets. A Charlie Brown Christmas? Just $76,000. That's nothing. And they only had 6 months to finish it. The animation team worked off black and white storyboards. Everything was rushed. The animation looked simple because they had no choice. But somehow, that simplicity made it better. The rough, handmade feel became the charm everyone loved. And CBS executives hated what they saw. Fact 28, CBS said it would bomb 1 week before airing. It's too slow, too religious. We're only airing it because we have to. 1 week before the premiere, CBS executives watched the finished special. They hated everything. The jazz music confused them, the Bible reading scared them, real kids' voices sounded weird, no laugh track felt wrong. The head executive said, "Unfortunately, there probably aren't going to be any more." They thought it was a disaster. December 9th, 1965, it aired. Half of America watched. 15 million households. Critics loved it. CBS was completely wrong. But there's one scene Schulz refused to cut. Fact 29, Schulz demanded Linus. Quote the Bible. Network executives begged him to remove it. He said, "If we don't do it, who will?" Schulz insisted Linus would recite scripture from the Gospel of Luke. The producers freaked out. Religion was too controversial. Nobody put Bible verses in cartoons. Schulz didn't care. He said the special needed to be about something real, the true meaning of Christmas. He put the Bible scene right at the climax so it'd be impossible to cut. That 2-minute moment became the most magical scene in TV animation history. Without it, the special wouldn't be the same. And the music almost didn't happen either. Fact 30. The iconic song was written on an envelope in 10 minutes. Christmas Time Is Here was created at the last second. Composer Vince Guaraldi made the instrumental music, but producer Lee Mendelson thought it needed lyrics. They couldn't find a lyricist. Time was running out. So Mendelson grabbed an envelope and wrote the words himself in about 10 minutes. Christmas time is here, happiness and cheer, done. They recorded it with real kids from a church choir. Those kids got paid $5 per session. No royalties, no credits. That song became one of the most famous Christmas songs ever recorded, and it was written on the back of an envelope. The special changed Christmas forever. And that's all 30 secrets behind how Charles Schulz created Peanuts. So there you have it. The 30 strangest Peanut secrets most people never knew. From Charles Schulz's brutal rejections to the Charlie Brown facts that shaped generations. The Snoopy creation story born from a dying mother's wish. The strangest Peanuts trivia proving truth beats fiction. These Charles Schulz behind-the-scenes moments reveal the real man, the Charlie Brown Snoopy secrets showing how pain becomes art, the Peanuts comic strip history written in loneliness and genius, Schulz hidden stories explaining the top Peanuts mysteries. And if you grew up watching the classic Christmas specials, you know. Charlie Brown Christmas, A Charlie Brown Christmas 2025 streaming now, the Snoopy Christmas special that defined childhood, those Peanuts holiday specials we watched yearly, classic Christmas TV specials that became tradition. Remember Charlie Brown Thanksgiving? The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown? Those vintage Christmas cartoons from the 1960s, Christmas animations? That nostalgic Peanuts Christmas feeling? Check Apple TV Peanuts specials schedule. Stream Charlie Brown Christmas full episode. Find Snoopy Holiday Classics for Men. Perfect retro Christmas TV for baby boomers. Charles Schulz gave us childhood memories that last forever. Hit like. Subscribe for more hidden stories. Comment which fact shocked you most. Thanks for watching.